take one for Saturday, November 1st talk. When I was 21 years old, I got diagnosed with alcoholism, drug addiction, and when I was in the treatment center, along with that, they also diagnosed me with my learning disabilities, ADHD, and all that other stuff. In that treatment center is where I had my bottom. And the bottom to me means I had to learn some things. I had to start learning what it was that I was starting to be in trouble with, because I had some problems other than alcoholism, drug addiction, and learning disabilities. I needed to learn how to grow up. And in that treatment center for the 35 days I was there, along with the halfway house that I was in for 3 months, I made a decision that I was going to grow up. When I was young, I was a quiet kid. I was not part of the crowd. I was beside the crowd, watching the crowd. I did have some fun. I did do some things that were experimenting, and I did end up in drug addiction and alcoholism, but I wasn't in the crowd. I was always on the periphery of the crowd. When I was in a treatment center, one of the guys that was there gave a talk, and he talked about being an optimist and a pessimist, an introvert and an extrovert. And pretty basically, I'm an introverted kid and pessimistic. In that talk, he talked a little bit about some kids were led to 2 gymnasiums. One gymnasium had a load of toys, just all the toys you could ever imagine and playing with. The other gymnasium had a load of horse manure, totally filled up, absolutely full. They left one kid there in the toys, they left one kid there in the pile of horse manure. An hour later they came back. The kid with all the toys was just sitting there amongst the toys doing nothing. They asked him why. And he said, "Oh, these toys are wonderful, but I'm afraid if I play with them, I'm going to break one." Pessimistic kid. Went to the next gymnasium. Horse poo was flying. It was splattered everywhere. And they looked at the little kid and they said, "What's going on?" And he said, "With all this horse poo, there's got to be a pony here somewhere, and I'm going to find it." That's what I decided that day. I was going to change the way I believed, the way I think, the way I operated. I wanted to move into that horse poo kid and start being optimistic. I wanted to start looking throughout everything to try to find the ponies of life. And I made that decision that day, and I've been following it ever since. I've made it with some success. I've also made it with some problems. I'm 21 years old. I'm finished with the treatment center. I'm on my way to my halfway house. And I grew up in Bozeman, Montana, a nice, small town. And didn't know a lot about things. And I got to the halfway house, and my first roommate was Jerry. And Jerry was this incredibly, incredibly handsome guy. He was a downtown Dayton's model for all their clothing. And he was on billboards throughout Minnesota. He was on the catalogs, Dayton's catalogs that were handed out nationwide, worldwide. He was chiseled, he was handsome, But he was also gay. And he was like 26, 27 years old, and I'm 21. And I'm a cowboy kid from Bozeman, Montana, and I don't know anything about gay people, except that I didn't want anything to do with gay people. I'd even successfully gotten in trouble with some friends when we went down to the local bar that was trying to be a gay hangout in Bozeman, Montana, and we beat up all the gay guys that were there. In the middle of that throw, I grabbed a hold of one of my best friends that I didn't know was gay. I looked Malcolm in the eye, and Malcolm looked at me, and his eyes were huge because he was scared. And I did something unthinkable. I just started knocking him in the head with my fist. And I felt terrible. But I didn't want to face my friends for not hitting Malcolm. So I did, and I beat him. Now I'm in the room of a halfway house with another man that's gay. And he's a black man that's gay, and he's gorgeous, and I'm scared. And for about 3 weeks, Jerry let me do some things and just smiled and just talked a little bit and tried to be my friend. And I'd come into that room at night with the lights off. I'd get changed and get into bed, and I would tuck myself in nice and tight, and then wake up every morning like, oh man, I'm with a gay man. I'm with a gay man. 3 weeks went on, and Jerry watched me do that and watched me do that. About 3 weeks later, I wake up, and there's Jerry sitting on his bed beside me, fully dressed, and he's just looking at me waking up, and he's just smiling, and he says, Joe, you gotta understand, man, I am gay, and I am a black man, but I don't like white meat. You don't have anything to worry about from me. And Jerry became a really good friend after I got done laughing and sharing and telling him about what happened with me and Malcolm. He listened to me and he said, Joe, Malcolm understood. He knew the dangers of being a gay kid in Bozeman, Montana, I'm sure. You need to let yourself off the hook. And you need to forgive yourself for what you did. And then you need to go and you need to apologize to Malcolm. Someday, somehow, you're going to have to apologize to your friend Malcolm. And it may not go pretty, and it may not be easy, but you're going to have to do it. And he helped me through all that, and he helped me through the feelings of what it felt like for me to be the guy that hit Malcolm, my friend. And I did feel bad, and I did want to make amends, and I did want to get to him, and I did want to talk to him. And I did forgive myself, but I never had the chance to talk to Malcolm because he did die of AIDS before I had a chance to get to him. And even today, all these years later, almost 40 years, I still feel really sad that I had to think that it was okay to hit another human being because of what he thought was what he believed to be his sexuality. Whether he was gay fully or not, I don't know. Never had a chance to talk to Malcolm. But Jerry taught me what it was like to be a gay man and to go through life and to understand what it was like for that. And I got to experience it with him. But he also taught me about forgiveness and how to be truly, truly sorry and not try to blame it on him or just be sorry. After I graduated from the halfway house, I started to do some other things. I moved around, and I got back to Bozeman and hung out with my friend growing up, Hal. And Hal taught me how to start controlling my anger. We'd play chess at night. Time after time after time, Hal would beat me, and he would just win the games. I would get so frustrated that I would throw the chessboard and throw the chess pieces across the room. And Hal would look with me with his hurt in his eyes, and he'd say, why are you so angry? It's just for fun. It's just a chess game. It's just the way it is. Sometimes you win. Sometimes you lose. Sometimes you lose more than you win. It's just a game. Have fun. And he was right. I should have been having fun. But I was taking it personal. I thought if I lost, I was a loser. Hal showed me it's just a game. It's just what happens when people play a game. Some people win, some people lose. It's no big deal. And I started to take that more and more and more and started to learn what it was like to have to control the anger inside of me over whatever it was, whether it was a game, whether it was somebody insulting me, somebody being mean to me, somebody using harsh language with me. I had to control my anger, or anger was going to control me. And for all my years at that 22 years old at that time, anger was winning and I wasn't controlling the anger. Hal helped me through all that. Moved back to Minnesota because I didn't want to keep living in Bozeman, Montana, because I was 22. I was still entrenched in that drug addiction lifestyle of alcoholism and that, and I needed to get away. I knew I needed to break free of the Gallatin Valley, which I love the place I grew up in, the Gallatin Valley, but I knew I needed to get back to Minnesota, and I did. And I started being with friends with other people that started to teach me some cool things. Some were not so cool. One couple I rode motorcycles with, we were riding motorcycles for a couple of weeks, and I got to really liking them, and they got to liking me. And we were at our house. We were getting some water before we went out for another motorcycle ride. Sitting around the dining room table, they shared with me, they said, we want you to join us even closer. We want to be even better friends. What would it take for you to spend more time with us? And we talked a little bit about that. And they said, but what you want you to understand, that being part of us and being friends with us, you also have to accept something. And we're Nazis. And that's where the conversation ended. I needed to be paying more attention. Those people taught me to look at people closer than I was and seeing who they were rather than what they were saying. They were trying to entice me into a lifestyle. They wanted one more white supremacist in their group. And that wasn't me. That's not who I am. And I just was so freaked out. It's like, I can't do this, and you all need to leave. That's not an easy lesson to learn, but it's also important to learn that what people say isn't necessarily who they are. And I needed to be paying more attention to that. I wanted to go to school. When I was in the treatment center, I was hooked up with a lady by the name of Cookie. And Cookie was an awesome, awesome lady that helped me learn what it was like to be a learning disabled person and to learn how to learn. And she taught me the tricks that I needed to learn on how to read a textbook and get the information from it, how to sit in a classroom and get the information, and how to interpret that information into my brain and to take it out into my life. And to start looking around and seeing who it is that I am and who it is I want to become and where is it that I wanted to go. And I wanted to be a counselor. I wanted to go to school. That's what I wanted to do. She was willing to let me go to trade school. She was willing to let me go to university. She was willing to let me do what it is that I chose to do. But it was my decision I had to make. It took me almost 2 months to decide what it is that I want to do. My parents, my dad, he wanted me to be a plumber. And that just wasn't what I wanted to do. I love people. The treatment center taught me that. The treatment center taught me that people are incredible in all their warts, all their wrinkles, and all their glory. People are incredible. And that's what I want to do. So that's why I became a counselor. I became a drug addiction, alcoholism, family counselor through College of St. Thomas in Minneapolis. And Cookie helped walk me through every step of that. And in that process, I got to learn what it took and what it takes to do those things and to experience the ups and the downs of learning that journey of what it takes for me to learn, for me to grow up, for me to change. And one of the harsher lessons that I had to learn that Cookie helped me with while I was working in school and going with her was I was a security guard at the desk at the downtown Minneapolis at the corner of Nicollet and Washington. A hotel was there called, I can't remember. Anyway, the hotel was there and it was owned by Calvary Chapel Church. And I manned the front desk so that we knew who was coming in and out of the hotel. And as I was manning that desk, Pastor Gordy became a really good friend of mine. And he liked that I was there. And he's the one that spent time with me. And one day during my shift, Pastor Gordy being 6'5", some 300 pounds, looked at my desk as I was sitting there and said, I want to spend some time with you after your shift. Meet me in the restaurant when your shift is completed. You don't say no to Pastor Gordy. So I did. And he said, I want to teach you some things, and I'm hoping that you want to learn them. And I said, yeah, I'd like to learn. What is it that you want me to do? He said, you ride your motorcycle to work every day. The people that live here like you a lot, but they don't understand the Joe Lair that rides the motorcycle with his leather gear, as well as they understand Joe Lair, the security guard that protects them. You can be Joe Lair, the motorcycle rider, or you can be Joe Lair, the security guard that protects the people. But you can't be both anymore. You need to choose which side of the fence you're going to be on. The rough and tumble motorcycle guy or the guy that protects people. You need to choose. That was easy for me to choose. I like being the guy that protects people. I like being who I am. And who I was becoming was a person that protected people and watched over people and read people as they came through the door, so I knew who they were. Take one. Finished.